Hey YouTube, what's up? We're three simple men making our way through the galaxy. We're back again this week with another episode of The Acolyte. It's me, Tom, Ryan, and Mike. And this week we are in episode 4 titled Day. And right off the bat, I want to just jump into it, boys. I have a big theory. The person we see at the end with the red lightsaber is the same companion as the guy traveling with Meg. I think they are the same person. He's giving me Palpatine vibes. He's a dual identity,
So
but
to hit the names and then the reminder that we do in the beginning of at least these episodes, this is Tom's first time watching The Acolyte. Me and Mike have already watched it, so this is our second watch through or first rewatch, I guess. So we are going to be careful not to spoil anything for Tom. But I hear what you're saying, Tom. So your bold prediction is that I'm going to pronounce his name wrong every time. Kimar. Kaimar,
Time,
Kaimar,
time here.
Kaimir,
Yeah.
um, is the stranger, who we do get a reveal that he is in fact on Kofar at the end. Um, yeah, I mean, I'm happy to talk about other theories that were definitely cycling when this was coming out live, that I had happened to read online or see people post, maybe even some of my own at the time. Um, some people think that, and I'm going to be honest, I thought this too. And again, I'm going to be careful not to spoil anything. At the time, I also thought this. Uh, they cast, I'm going to get her name wrong, but the actress who played Trinity as I have it on here.
Us.
Ariane Moss.
Yes.
Yeah.
They cast her and kill her off in the first 10 minutes, and then we get her in a flashback. Um, I wasn't the only person who was thinking this theory, that she is didn't really die. That what we saw in the beginning was some sort of setup, and that she is the master. Um, So that's a theory I had at the time of viewing this, or before viewing this, and I think other people did. I also saw theories that some people thought that, uh oh man, the names. I'm sorry, guys, hold on. That Yord is the master, or the stranger. Um, so that's another theory going around. I think it gets busted at this point because we do see all the accounted Jedi. The squad that show up are there's 7 Jedi, because some knights, some Padawan, plus Soul makes 8. You have Osha and you have Basil, so that's the squad that shows up on Kofar. Um, and then you also have May and Kamir, um, to who show up, also. So we do see them. So I think at this point that was a big, for people watching it live, that was a big reveal. Like, hey, it's not Yord. Um, and I think people thought that kind of the way he was acting, how he was very like by the book, but also controlling, and it seemed like it could have been a interesting reveal. Um, that being said, it's a good theory, Tom. Um, we last see Chimere getting trapped by May, steps into a sling, falls into a trap, which isn't very Jedi-like, but or actually, that's a lie. I don't know why I said that. That's very Jedi-like, as we know, especially from doing this podcast. All Jedi seem to do is trigger traps. So,
Well, you get hung upside down in the forest too. We've seen that in Return of the Jedi.
yeah, true.
Going ahead, but no. But my theory is that's my theory is just that conversation alone is like even if he knows the master knows we're here. It's going to take him forever to get there. Then all of a sudden, by nightfall, he shows up.
Yeah, I mean that's what that is what May says. So yeah, I think it's very realistic that the master he was there. Obviously.
This is
I think he kills I think he's the one who killed Kilnaka, right? I mean, and we don't have to go in order. We've done that before. I think our best episodes are when we don't go in order, but we're almost working backwards now, which I kind of like. Yeah, I mean, May's decided that she's no more, not doing this. I don't have to. I'm gonna go surrender to Kalnaka, the Wookiee Jedi, who has taken up a shack in Kofar, which is to quote Chimere. What
Yeah,
is
you
it?
got it. You got it.
Okay. Is a from the last episode and then the previously on a relaxing forest retreat in the Outer Rim. I don't know why, but I find that hilarious. Every time I hear that line, that's my quote, maybe. It makes me chuckle. He says it at the end of last episode, and then he says it, we get it in the beginning of this one as the recap, but it's just so goofy to be like a relaxing forest retreat in the Outer Rim. And then they get there and he's like, you don't want to go out there by yourself. It's dangerous. Bounty hunters don't want to go out there by themselves. It's like you said it was a relaxing forest retreat. Now you're all nervous about it. Um, but yeah, they arrive. She says, nope, I'm not doing this. I'm gonna go surrender. She shows up to surrender, and sadly, we've lost yet another Jedi. Kelnaka appears
Which
to have
I'm very disappointed because it would have been awesome to see a live action Wookiee Jedi. I wonder what color his lightsaber would have been, and I would have loved to see his fighting style.
Yeah, no, it's definitely sad that he has passed. We get I assume it's a lightsaber wound. It certainly looks like one across his chest. But also important to note, we do see kind of etchings or drawings on the walls of his cabin that look like Osha's tattoo, the tattoo her mother had, I'm sorry, not Osha's tattoo, May's
Yeah, on her forehead. Yeah. So
yeah.
seeing some references to the coven.
Yeah, so he's definitely upset. It's again, I think another example now that we've seen the previous episode where we learn more about that coven. Um, he's isolating himself, clearly obsessing over what happened there. Just like Torben was in a sense. They just found two different, you know, places to isolate themselves, one in his own mind and then the other in, a forest retreat.
Yeah, it's interesting that like I think with Torben, he was like silent. I forget how many years he was silent, but like Hilnaka was silent for a year, and they're like, yeah, we have no way of getting in contact with him to warn him that May's out there to kill him. But also just this whole change of heart. So I think at the beginning of the episode, I think Chimera was talking to May about Osha and just like, yeah, it doesn't really change anything. Then she has that change of heart. And it's like, well, the final lesson is what you have to teach yourself. And, this whole concept of how do you kill a Jedi without a weapon? And like, Chimera is like, what do you do? Disarm them? Like, he's
Yeah,
not.
he's like pondering it. And that was my other quote I wrote down. You just had it. Your final lesson is one you teach yourself, which I want to put a big ol' circle and star next to that and have that be something we think about and maybe come back to at the end of this series when we finish it, because uh hearing it a second time, there's a lot more I'd like to dive into that, and we're not going to do it yet because Tom has not seen the ending. But I think that's a very important quote.
So I think now that, we talked about this episode, I mean, I want to throw it back towards, I think a pivotal scene is where the Jedi are talking about May. And I've heard about the rumors about one of the characters being Kiadi Mundi. And if
Yeah, we saw him.
but just seeing him there, it's like, okay, he's probably there. Like, I can understand why everyone's like, all right, well, like I said, I've not seen the episodes. You know where I'm going with this, where it's like, if Jedi are being killed, there's like a Sith Lord, and everything he said in episode 1 is a complete lie.
Yeah,
But I think I want to dive into the whole notion of you see them getting more political. Like we have to keep this.
100%.
We have to keep this quiet. And this, like I said, this is the wheels turning. This is the start of the Jedi are not the peacekeepers of the Republic. They're more the armed guard of politicians. And they start to do politics within themselves, which is going to be their downfall.
I think we definitely see it being orchestrated by Master Venestra, right? And I think it's very clear. You talked about Jedi Monday. No doubt. There's no doubt in my mind that that's him. And I get
there. I almost thought I saw Plo Koon too.
Well, what to touch on what you were talking about live, people are like, well, from what I heard, some book had his age. He's never aged. Like they never give his age, how old he is in the movies. But people are like, oh, he couldn't be old. That he's not that old. That doesn't make sense. That is an argument that shouldn't even be an argument because we're talking canon now, and this is how it is. But the other thing you said, which is canon, is his line where he's there when they're like, the Sith haven't been around for a millennia or whatever he says.
Yeah.
Right now, none of the Jedi, like we see them having this discussion, right? They're almost debating, or they're like, well, who could do it? Who could be killing these Jedi? Could it be someone worse? So like there's theories, and there's a little like, hint like maybe it is the Sith, but they don't know yet, right? All they know is this.
Yeah, they said it was like a splinter order or something, so they didn't even like say it's Sith. And
Yeah.
it does somewhat validate the point that like no one could have thought it was a Sith. I mean, Kiadi said it, Sith were extinct for a millennium, but
and then you got Master Finestra. I think that was who it was. That was saying like, I can't be for certain, but there's some form of thing that's going to tip the scales.
She talks about that. She says that that's what she thinks is this master's greater plan. They want to catch the master. They don't just want
May.
And we do also see, while she's having that conversation with Soul, it seems like it's to the side. It's almost a secret conversation. There's looks being exchanged between her, Mundy, the other, I didn't get her name, but the other Jedi,
Master Holden.
Yeah. So it definitely seems like all the Jedi aren't on the same page. I think Venestra is keeping this very close to the chest, as we know. Originally, we heard it was from the Senate. She reiterated that she didn't want the Senate to know about this, but it seems like
High Council.
Yeah, but now she's even talking about hiding it from the rest of the Jedi. It's cool that we haven't met the High Council yet. At first I thought they were the High Council, like Venestra was and stuff, but it's fun to know that there's a bigger, because just a bigger Jedi system going on here. But yeah, we get that kind of fun little political portion. Osha just saying, I'm out too, which is kind of funny now. Watching the whole episode through again, you notice like Osha and May both make the same decision this episode. Osha decides, I'm done, I'm leaving. And May decides, I'm done, I'm leaving. So they both come to almost the same solution, but Osha's decision is, I don't care about May. I'm out of here. I'm done.
She's a murderer. Yeah.
She's a murderer. May's decision is, I care about Osha. She's alive. It means everything. I'm done. So
that changes everything. She just abandons the mission. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's very interesting how they're dynamic and how they're connected or not connected.
It's like a mixed match, black and white type of thing. It's like you both want to quit, but Osha's just more of like, I know she's alive, but what she's on, I want nothing to do with it. And then, May just being like, wait, my sister's alive? I gotta make sure she's good. I'm like, your sister don't want to deal with you. You kill people. But
Well,
now
it kind of makes you think like, who's the good person in this situation? Like,
Yeah.
it's like OSHA's just like, she killed people. I'm out. I don't care. I'm leaving. It's kind
Now all of a sudden, from killing the 4 Jedi on Brendock, it's like, oh, now I'm gonna surrender to one and use that as a way to get back to OSHA. So,
and I know when obviously my concern uh watching this episode the first time before the reveal at the end was, oh great, how's this now gonna, my thought was she was gonna show up. I was not expecting the stranger, the master, to show up. I was not expecting him to show up at the end of this. I was expecting uh there to be some sort of misunderstanding where, and then obviously with the lightsaber thing, then it was like, oh shoot. But I figured, I was kind of thinking maybe May was gonna go to surrender and Yord was gonna intercept, and then Yord being Yord was gonna start a fight. um I thought something like that, where it was like, oh, it's not gonna be so simple, she's not just gonna be able to surrender. Wasn't expecting it to be because you know her master's there and is, has
yeah,
to continue to pull
not
the strings.
not to mention like when they were first about to truck out too, like um OSHA pulled Yor to the side. It's like, hey, like you need to stop her, like if because like she
What?
doubted Soul's ability, and like I think she was like, yeah, I don't kind of like I know why you're doing this, like you want to get May out in the open, and I'm just a pawn here or whatever it is. But yeah, she's like, I don't trust May, like you need, and like she trusts Yor being Yor, it's like do whatever you have to stop her. So um
We also get a throwback kind of reference in this one to OSHA encountering the giant moth like creature, and then uh Soul kills it, and we get uh well, in Soul's defense, it was attracted to the lightsaber. It kind of flew directly into it. But OSHA tries talking to Jackie and is kind of like, I sensed it, and like because of that, it died. Like she feels bad, and that's kind of a reference, I feel like, to the earlier episode when she was young, and we saw that she was playing with or interacting with the uh the moth or butterfly
oh, of course.
creature, but May was being more kind of cruel to the creature, and she kind of said, hey, leave it alone, kind of a thing.
Mhm.
So I thought that was kind of interesting, where it's like the same thing, like she definitely has a strong connection to the life force, I guess, of these creatures, which is kind of cool to see how her force sensitivity is compared to her sister's, which seems to be more trained, honed, and functional.
Yeah, because I think also like another quote was, I think Jackie said it too, that we're not defined by what we lose, but what we survive. Um, but yeah, I think we do find out more that OSHA had a tough time letting go what happened all those years ago, and that probably what contributed to her leaving the Jedi. Um, and yeah, I guess cutting herself off from the Force, but I guess to Soul's point, it's like to confront your past, confront yourself. So I think as we see what happens, I think um, yeah, well, I guess we'll see what happens with the whole, rediscovering yourself, and maybe there's a connection back to the coven that Ocean will realize as she goes through this journey. So yeah, I was very surprised that the Jedi would have a tracker. Now that
Basil, we got to talk about Basil.
I mean, just having
Basil, sorry.
yeah, 'cause I mean, with what we've seen, it's just like the Jedi were more like the detectives, but it's like, well, hey, now we need a tracker to find Kelnaka, he couldn't just sense him through the forest. So just like, I mean, did Kelnaka cut himself in the forest where he couldn't be tracked?
I mean, I don't know. They have him. He is a civilian. We know that because he's wearing the same civilian robe that they make OSHA wear, which is kind of funny. They're both wearing the same thing.
They call it civilians, yeah.
Yeah. So that was a fun it's a fun little character, and we get the great interaction between him and the droid Pip.
Yeah.
So with a very classic some form of spraying fluids from the droid. Yeah, I think Basil's a cool little character. We do learn that he speaks Tinin. And yeah, he's like a little, sniffs things out, and
It's a good strategy too to have a tracker, someone to sniff something out, especially a Jedi whose species can do the same thing. They use their strong sense of smell, so it makes sense.
They lose them, and then like Yorn says, "Oh, great, we need a tracker to find our tracker."
yeah, that was a little funny line. Yeah, I mean, and I did like the discussion happening between May and Chimere regarding just how do you kill a Jedi without a weapon. And he's like, would he steal the Jedi's lightsaber and then use that? Like he's trying to like figure it out and question it, and she's not really sure. And we don't know what it means, and maybe we'll find out, maybe we won't. We'll see.
Also, I like that line. It's like, oh, we have to have a tracker to find our tracker. You know what that just reminded me of? It gave me the vibes of, you know what I watched not too long ago? I watched the third Jurassic Park movie where Dr. Grant and that kid, where just they find the parents and all that stuff. They're like, it's like, how'd you find us? It's like, oh, I heard that stupid little jingle from your satellite phone. It's like, you got your phone? Like, no, I don't. It's like I gave it to Nash before he had it before, and then they turn around and they see the Spinosaurus. They're like, run. Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's always a funny one. I love that ringtone. Yeah, I mean, we do get, so I guess we could talk about the very end of this episode. We get the master, the stranger, whatever you want to call him, just one appears, and
Dude, he's
he's blurry, but it appears he
He like
floats down.
down to the ground, yeah.
Yeah,
dude, he gave me Voldemort vibes. He just flew down
and then he just
out
yeets
of thin air.
freaking OSHA with the force. That was dope. And she's just gone. I don't know if we've
Well, first it was like igniting the lightsaber, like oh, and like being real closer, like oh shit, and I'm just
Oh,
like,
I thought we were getting a spoiler. No, I don't want to spoil this from the later films. It's too big to even reference. But I thought we were gonna get a very close lightsaber directly through her. OSHA was dead. Like I honestly thought OSHA was dead. I was like, oh, okay. Like May says her sister matters and she won't do this. Like he's gonna make her turn to the dark by just killing her sister. Definitely what I thought was gonna happen with the lightsaber. And who knows? Maybe it happened when he forced flicked her out of the way. I mean, just and then we get a similar, I want to say, kind of fighting technique that we saw May utilize earlier with the dust, where he uses the force and kind of throws all the dust up in the air. And then we see all the other Jedi. So we do get some yellow lightsabers, right? So that's kind of fun. Yeah, I mean, it was a hell of a cliffhanger of an ender of an episode. I think it still stands with my critique of the series, which I know we don't usually get critiques that much in this, because we do love Star Wars so much, but I think this still would have operated better as a film. I think this episode as a whole, I think it's the shortest episode. We learn a little bit, but I feel like not much happens in this episode except getting our characters from point A to point B, and just the reveal that Kelneka is dead. Besides that, that May doesn't want to do it anymore. But like for me, it just seemed like it was an informational episode. Not a lot of action really happens. I think this could have, like, for me, that reveal, that scene, I feel like should have just went into a full-fledged battle scene, and that would have been, great in a movie or a film. I don't know. Thoughts on that? Tom, I know it's hard for you to make that call yet because you haven't finished, but I still stand by that. I think this series would have been very functional as a film.
Oh, we'll see. If the way we just ended on this episode, and it gets better and better, then maybe I'll agree with you on that. I'm like, there's a possibility like this could have been a film.
And again, and I don't think it has anything to do with it being good or bad. I think it's just, for me, like the pacing of it, and the episodes don't seem like they need to necessarily be episodes. I just feel like
I think you could make a good film because even though it started off slow, but this is really like a murder mystery. I'm like, for a murder mystery in Star Wars,
it's cool.
that's
And again, I
think
will say I very
we could
much
do
like it.
something like that.
Yeah. I just feel like maybe it would have functioned better as a film. I definitely think it would have functioned well as a film. I think I would have probably gone and seen it in theaters a couple times, if it was released in theaters as a full movie. And I stand by the fact that I feel like the last week's episode, if you were to have made it a film, should have just taken place in the beginning of the episode, in the beginning of the movie, as opposed to where it did, and then you just hide the reveal. Was that last week's episode, the Coven episode?
Yeah, last week was the Coven.
Yeah, I think that, you just hide the reveal that May and Osha are two different people. Or I think, I don't know if I talked about this last time, but that Osha, or that May, you hide the fact that May survives, and you just show that whole part in the beginning of the movie, make it seem like May dies, and then you go into the show, or into the order that the show has gone into, and you just cut down some things, and I feel like this could have been a film. That's my one critique. But that being said, we still got a few more episodes left. Very enjoyable ones, and I'm excited for you to see the rest of it, Tom.
And once again, it's kind of nice to do this, get a break from the Clone Wars, because we're going to be there for quite some time.
I'm not gonna lie, I'm already missing the Clone Wars a little bit.
I do miss a little Anakin and Obi-Wan sassiness, but I digress. It was a good episode. Can't wait for more.
With that, Mike.
Well, folks, you heard it straight from Tom. Tom thinks Chimere is the stranger, so we'll have to see what happens next week when we get into episode 5. But that's a wrap. Thank you, everyone, for joining Three Simple Men making their way through the galaxy. Hit that like, comment, subscribe, and come back next week for some more Acolyte content. May the Force be with you always.
Make the lightsabers great again.